Rome is burning. And in the heart of the city, an emperor is about to decide what the story will be. This isn't just a fire, it's a test of power. Who controls the narrative when the empire is frightened, angry, and looking for someone to blame? This is the story of Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, an emperor who began with hope, became a performer, and ended as a symbol of fear. And what Rome tried to erase afterward may be the most important part. Welcome back to Unheard History. Before we begin, this episode contains accounts of political purges, persecution, and the destruction of Rome. We're not exaggerating for clicks. These are events that shaped Roman politics and later Christian history. Nero came to power at a moment when Rome was still recovering from decades of suspicion, conspiracies, and imperial instability. His early reign looked like a fresh start, a young emperor guided by experienced counselors, promising reform and offering the city relief after years of court intrigue. But Nero's story isn't only the caricature of a mad emperor fiddling while Rome burned. It's a case study in how absolute power manages crisis, how rulers buy silence, stage spectacles, redirect anger, and rewrite public memory when the city itself is on fire. Let's go back to the year 54 AD. When Emperor Claudius died, Nero became emperor at just 16 years old. Ancient accounts, especially Suetonius in the 12 Caesars and Cassius Dio in Roman history, describe a court that initially treated Nero as a young figurehead. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, played a decisive role in securing his position, and Nero's early governance was shaped by advisors, most notably the philosopher Seneca and the Praetorian prefect Burrus. The imperial household was not simply a family, it was a political machine, and Agrippina had built it to put her son on the throne. At first, Rome welcomed him with relief. He lowered certain taxes, eased restrictions, and presented himself as a ruler of the people. Games were staged, money flowed. The city watched, hopeful that the Julio-Claudian dynasty could begin a new chapter. But power is rarely shared for long. As Nero grew older, the balance shifted. Agrippina's influence began to wane. Seneca and Burrus were sidelined. Nero started to reshape the court around his own image, an image that would soon become inseparable from his rule. This transition matters because it reveals the first turning point, the moment when managed rule gives way to personal rule. Rome was not just choosing a person, it was choosing whether its institutions would restrain him or become instruments of his will. Accounts suggest that the break between Nero and Agrippina was not a single event, but a gradual struggle over control. Who would speak for the emperor, who would command the Praetorian Guard, and who would decide the meaning of imperial authority? Historians debate the exact sequence and motives, but the pattern is consistent. Nero's early promise gave way to a regime that increasingly treated opposition as treason.
Nero didn't just rule Rome, he performed it. He staged musical contests, poetry readings, and theatrical performances, often appearing himself as a singer and actor. In a society that viewed such roles as beneath the dignity of an emperor, this wasn't harmless self-expression, it was a public statement. The emperor could remake culture itself. He built grand palaces and public spaces, spending heavily on spectacles designed to keep the public entertained and distracted. The message was clear: Rome existed to be shaped by his taste. And when taste becomes identity, criticism becomes treason. In the imperial court, applause was no longer voluntary, it became a political act. People learned to flatter loudly, speak carefully, and remain silent when necessary. The court stopped being a place of debate and became a place of performance where survival depended on reading the emperor's moods and conforming to his preferences. This is how spectacle becomes governance, not by replacing laws, but by changing the incentives of every person in the room. In a culture where public reputation is currency, the emperor's preferences become law by default.
As Nero's confidence grew, so did his paranoia. Ancient sources describe a pattern: accusations, trials, and executions used to remove threats and fund the imperial lifestyle. Tacitus, in his Annals, portrays a Rome where treason charges spread through the court like a contagion. People accused rivals, rivals accused friends, and everyone watched each other. This wasn't just bad behavior, it was a system. Treason accusations became a political currency. Accusations could be bought, sold, and weaponized. Rome began to resemble a city where wealth and safety depended on flattering the emperor. Even members of Nero's household were not safe. Political murders and forced suicides became tools of control. The Senate, once a deliberative body, became a stage for imperial will. In that atmosphere, silence became survival. People began to speak carefully, flatter loudly, and stay quiet when necessary. The cost of disagreement was too high. This is the mechanism of fear. It doesn't just punish, it teaches obedience. When everyone is watching everyone else, the emperor doesn't need to personally threaten every citizen. The court does it for him.
Then came the event that would define Nero forever: the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD. The fire devastated large parts of the city. Ancient accounts differ on the scale and cause, but what's clear is this: a crisis of this magnitude threatened Nero's legitimacy. Rumors spread fast. People whispered that Nero had ordered the fire to clear space for his building projects, or that he had watched it from a safe distance, indifferent. Nero responded with spectacle and blame. He organized relief efforts, opened public buildings for shelter, and provided food. At the same time, he redirected anger away from himself by accusing a convenient scapegoat: the Christians. Tacitus describes how Nero used the fire to transform public anger into a spectacle of punishment. Christians were arrested, interrogated, and executed in public displays meant to satisfy the crowd's thirst for vengeance. In other words, Nero didn't just react, he tried to control the story. This is where the episode becomes more than a personality profile. It becomes a case study in how rulers manage disaster. Aid plus spectacle plus scapegoating. Nero's goal was not merely to punish enemies. It was to reframe the narrative so that Rome's suffering could be blamed on someone else, and so that his authority could be reasserted. Historians debate the reliability of some accounts, the exact scale of the persecution, and how much of the story reflects later political narratives. What we can say with confidence is that Nero's response used crisis to redirect anger and consolidate control.
Nero's persecution of Christians is one of the most consequential episodes of his reign. Ancient sources describe brutal punishments, arrests, executions, and public spectacles designed to appease the crowd. Christians were blamed for the fire, and the state turned that blame into policy. This wasn't just cruelty. It was the use of fear to unify public attention and silence dissent. And it left a lasting legacy. Christians remembered Nero as a symbol of persecution, and later historians used him as a cautionary tale about imperial power. Even later writers, such as Eusebius in his ecclesiastical history, reinforced this image, shaping how Nero was remembered for centuries. Importantly, scholars continue to debate the exact scale of the persecution, the legal mechanisms used, and how much of the story reflects later political narratives. What remains undeniable is the pattern. a ruler under pressure redirected anger toward a vulnerable group to preserve his own legitimacy.
As the fire cleared space, Nero began an ambitious rebuilding project, most famously the Domus Aurea, Golden House, a vast imperial complex that symbolized his personal ownership of Rome. This wasn't just architecture, it was a statement. Rome belonged to the emperor. Public resentment grew. People began to see Nero not as a generous ruler, but as a man who used the city as his private playground while they suffered. The spending strained the treasury. The games became less a celebration and more a distraction. Trust collapsed. When people no longer believe their ruler is acting for the common good, silence becomes the only safe response. And when silence is the only safe response, fear becomes the only language of politics. In that environment, even small acts of disagreement could be interpreted as rebellion. The court became a place of constant calculation. Who would survive the next accusation? And who would be sacrificed to protect the emperor's narrative?
As Nero's political violence alienated the Senate and his spending strained resources, support began to vanish. Provincial governors declared their independence. The army withdrew loyalty. The Senate declared him a public enemy. Nero fled Rome. On June 9th, 68 AD, facing capture, he took his own life, reportedly saying, "What an artist dies in me." Rome then entered a period of rapid regime change, the year of the 4 emperors, showing how quickly a single ruler's collapse could destabilize the entire empire. This ending matters. Nero didn't just die. He left behind a system that had learned to live in fear, a city that had been reshaped, and a political culture that would remember him as a warning.
So what do we take from Nero? That spectacle isn't harmless. It can become a substitute for governance. That crisis is a test of leadership and a chance for rulers to rewrite history. And that absolute power doesn't just corrupt, it turns public tragedy into private survival. Nero's story is not just about one emperor. It's about how a society responds when fear replaces debate, and how rulers turn disaster into a narrative they can control. If you want more unheard stories, untold, unsettling, and historically grounded, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're dropping dark history every week. Which emperor should we cover next? Commodus or Vespasian? Comment below.